Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the two meta guns in competitive Call of Duty this year, the Rival 9 and the MCW. We're going to be comparing the class setups of 3 pros on each of these guns so you guys can make the best decision and generate the best class that suits your playstyle. So first things first, we're going to be looking at the MCW. Here we're comparing Cellium, Dashy's and Drazah's class setup. As you can see, before we get into them, I'm just going to be looking at this so you guys can really pay attention to the class you really want. Looking at Cellium's here, it's got very good recoil control. If you want to sit back and just beam from decent range, this is going to be for you. The bullet velocity is the worst out of the 3, but if you can hit your shots because of the recoil, it's not going to matter too much. The only downside with this class setup is the ADS speed leaves a lot to be desired. It's not great. It is a bit of a stiffer AR, but that's what you get from having virtually no recoil on the gun. It's also mid-range in movement speed, sprint to fire speed, ADS speed, and everything like that. So although it's, terrible at ADS speed, it's not so bad at those other things. If we look at Dashy's class setup here, it's a very good beamer. It's got effective damage range of the highest out of the 3, as well as highest bullet velocity because of its high velocity rounds, which makes it an absolute beam at range. Unfortunately, however, it's probably the worst recoiling gun out of the 3, at least it feels that way. It's got the most gun kick control and most vertical recoil control, which means you've got to pull your analog stick down the most out of the 3. Sprint to fire speed isn't bad, and the ADS and the general movement speed isn't bad as well. It's on par with Drazah's class setup, which is probably the most mobile class that we've got here. So yeah, if you're looking for a beamer with decent range and high velocity, this is the class for you. Now on the flip side, Drazah's setup here, it's not great at damage range, it's not great at recoil. It's not too bad. I think it's better. It feels better than Dashy's class setup, but the main reason you're going to want to use this class is for its mobility and handling. It's got the highest ADS speed, highest sprint to fire speed, and highest sprint, ADS movement speed, and hip fire spread. So this is the class you're going to want to be using. If you don't mind a little bit more recoil, and you don't mind, your bullet velocity and damage range not being that great, but you want to ADS quickly, this is going to be the gun for you. So let's get into the class setups we've got here. For Cell's class, these are the attachments we want to be using. Feel free to take a screenshot of this. I am going to leave all the screenshots and stuff in my Discord. If you want a link to my Discord, it should be in the description down below. But this is Cell's class. Take a screenshot, pause the video, do what you want. For Dashy's, this is what we're looking like for Dashy's. So the difference here is probably the shark fin and the high velocity. By the way, the optic is up to you, but you don't want one that negates, has a negative effect to the ADS. Moving on to Drazah's. Again, as you can see here, there's not many attachments here that make the ADS terrible, which is why it's probably the best in class. So yeah, there are the classes for the MCW. Now moving on to the Rival 9 here, you've got the table. It's very similar, so you should be used to the format by now. But we're comparing Shotzzy's, Envoy's, and Abezy's class setups here. Starting with Shotzzy's, if I'm honest, it's probably the worst out of the 3, but Shotzzy's got a lot of fans. If you just want to use this class, feel free, but it's crap. The effective damage range is the worst out of them all, and the bullet velocity it's not crazy. As far as recoil control is concerned, it's got the best general recoil control as well as vertical recoil control, but it's got the worst horizontal recoil control, which is probably the one you don't want. Horizontal recoil control is when your aim goes left and right, and it's just not what you want. Vertical, at least, is easy to manage because you just pull it slightly down on your analog stick. The ADS speed is also the worst of the 3, and the movement speed is terrible. The only good thing about using this is that the sprint speed is faster, and the hip fire spread is also faster. It was also smaller, sorry. And it's only by small margins, so it's not great. That's why I'm saying it's the worst out of the 3. Now, Envoy's here has high velocity attached to it, so it's got a very good effective damage range and bullet velocity. However, it does have the most recoil out of the 3. Its ADS time isn't great. It's better than Shotzzy's class, but it's not quite as good as Abezy's here. And the sprint to fire time is terrible. I say it's terrible. It's close, but it's the worst out of the 3. So if you're sprinting around a corner and you get caught sprinting, Abezy's class setup is going to aim in far quicker and be able to shoot far quicker than yours. With movement speed, this is actually the fastest moving gun, so this is when you're not sprinting, and it's almost as quick as Shotzzy's at general sprint speed. You also have the fastest strafe speed at 3.4 millisecond ADS movement, and then the hip fire spread is tied with Abezy as a second, but yeah, if you're aiming in, it doesn't really matter anyway. Now we're looking at Abezy's, which is actually probably my favorite one to be using. It's got the best damage range in line with Envoy's, but the bullet velocity is the worst. So if you're keeping your engagements really close, that probably won't matter. But if you feel like you're not getting bullet registration, or you're dying first at long ranges, it's probably because of the bullet velocity. The recoil control is actually the best on this as well. So if you are trying to beam at long range, at least you're going to be able to hit your shots because the horizontal and vertical recoil control is the best out of the three, and the ADS is also rather rapid at 170 milliseconds, which is 20 milliseconds less than Envoy's and 37 milliseconds less than Shotzzy's. So it's the most, I'd say, classic SMG out of the three. And then with regards to movement, sprint speed, ADS sprint speed, and hipfire spread, it's middle of the table. Very good class setup. The only thing it's worst out of the three is bullet velocity. So if you don't mind that, this is the class you're going to want to be using. Now, getting into the classes themselves, this is Shotzzy's class setup here. As you can see, it's without the barrel, which is the main reason why it has the poor effective damage range and its downsides generally. It does have to have high velocity to counteract the fact that we don't have a barrel on, but this is Shotzzy's class setup. Envoys, obviously you got the barrel here. Sorry, this is a very bright red camo, but you see you still got the high velocity here as well as the hand stop. That differs it a little bit. The only difference then with Abezy's, which makes it simply the best, is it's a different underbarrel and a rear grip instead of an ammunition high velocity, which is why obviously it has the worst bullet velocity out of the three. So, use what you will. If you want, by the way, if you want perks and stuff like that, a lot of people are using the Karambit because you can run super fast, stuns, frags or semtexes, build upgrade, probably trophy system, and then assault or marksman gloves. It's up to you. Assault gloves tend to be the meta if you're a jump shotter, or, you know, because realistically, if you're not, if you're jumping around corners and aiming in, it takes longer if you're jumping. Whereas with these gloves, it doesn't happen. Like, it's the same no matter what. And also, while jumping, your accuracy is improved. So I like to have that because I am a jump shotter myself. And then obviously for here, you probably want covert sneakers if you don't want to be sound horde. And yeah, and then for this, it's up to you really. EOD padding or tac mask is probably the best one. I prefer to have EOD because I feel like I can withstand more grenades and survive longer that way than just getting stunned and being okay with it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you want me to do any other guns. These are the two main guns the pros are using, so I wouldn't recommend using any others. For pubs, I do have a class up video coming out. I'm on my camo grind, so I've been using a lot of weapons and I've gotten the gist of what's best for those. So if you want any other details on these guns, feel free to let me know down in the comments. And yeah, give them a go. Let me know how you got on and enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao for now.